The following podcast is an RMG Media production.
Welcome to the Renaissance Podcast, a podcast for Renaissance women
and men
who want to create a modern-day Renaissance in their life and business.
We interview some of the most successful entrepreneurs and share their unique stories.
Are you ready to create your Renaissance? Welcome to the Renaissance Podcast.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Alexis Jones is here. Ashley McDuffie is here.
Yes, I am.
Straight off of a shoot.
Yeah, I'm a construction queen today. You know, I've been out in the construction world.
Listen, when you work at Renaissance Marketing Group, you do it all.
I love it.
They found themselves doing construction today. I think that was a little bit part of it.
Yes, we were, which probably should maybe cut this out. They were like, they didn't have the rails up, and it was like an old building that they're renovating to turn into Airbnbs downtown. And they didn't have the side rails, and me and Maddie were a little freaked out, and like some of them because they were tall, and Maddie's like, don't get too close.
Oh God, that's really scary.
Yeah.
Well, we are very excited to have you on the show. You are is this your first business?
It is.
So kind of new entrepreneur,
yes,
fresh into this really glamorous world that we live in, right?
Oh, yeah. Super glamorous. I was just like, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. No, not at all. I just saw a gap and a need, and I was like, why not me? Why can't I do it? And then I realized so this is what it's like.
When they're like, you just don't sleep and you pour more into the business than you do your health and your mental health and all the thing. You just, it's the hustle culture thing. It's it really, I feel like, exists because of this world.
Right. And I think, so I'm originally from up north, Philadelphia, and my husband's from New York. So I feel like that's kind of that hustle or big, faster way of life is really big up there. And then we moved down here in 2014, and, I kind of got used to this southern, Nashville.
Slower pace.
Yeah. And then, and so now when I go up north, I'm like, this is how you guys act. And then I'm like, that's been my life, my whole life. But I get a piece of that back being an entrepreneur. It's constantly, it's all you think about. Last night, I'm trying to watch Survivor because I'm a big Survivor fan. And I'm but I could be doing these emails and let me just do this really quick. And then I'm it's 9:00. You need to relax.
Gosh, it's that. I feel like you are the perfect person to be on the show too, Ashley, for this, because we just struggle with turning it off. How do you turn it off? And I constantly battle that too. I should turn it off. I should sleep. I should relax. We all know we have to pour into ourselves, but how do you do? I don't know. How do you find that balance? Does it ever exist?
I don't know. I don't think so. And I think trying to achieve it.
I don't think balance exists.
Yeah.
I don't think there's such thing as balance. Jenna Bush Hager always talks about that on the Today Show. She's like, people always ask women and ask moms how they balance it all. No one ever asks a man how he balances it all.
Wow, it's such a good point.
Good point.
I would love to ask a man. No one ever asked my dad, how did you balance it all?
Kids, being a dad and then being a busy career man. It's but we get asked that. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because we do it all.
Yeah.
Because I think men just don't I know that in our household, I still drop the kids off or to preschool and things that I kind of just do the grocery shopping or I go unshipped and actually order the groceries. But
still,
yeah,
it's that thought of meal planning
exactly.
And what are we eating this? It's innate in you.
Exactly. I think it's just we just take on that role, and so that's why we're asked the balancing where men just go to work or do things. What do you do?
I'm just thinking of my husband. He would never think about what are we eating for dinner that week. It would not, it's just not innate in him.
Yeah.
But I'm every Saturday and Sunday, I'm here we do spaghetti Wednesday and then Thursday steaks and but it's just in me. And then I use Instacart. Yeah. So this is a good way to flow into this part of the conversation because my favorite thing about Instacart is it tells you, hey, Sydney, you saved 90 hours of grocery shopping in the month of March. And I'm what a genius, just a little note for me because I'm wow, like doesn't feel like I got that many hours back in my life. But like that, I just think from a marketing standpoint, like again, just like really, they know their target audience, like they know their customer. And it's like me that's just like, I don't got fucking time to go to the grocery store. I just don't.
Yeah. Well, I love that aspect of it. Like that's kind of some things that I want to utilize in my company. Like as we continue to build out, it's like, how much time are you saving? Like not doing those little things where you can delegate elsewhere and better spend your time, even if it's not even like working, but it's like, I have kids, or like, can I just do a little quick workout and make myself feel better? Or maybe just grab lunch with a friend or something.
Get my nails.
Get my nails done.
Something just to like get that. And I do that like on Sundays sometimes where I'm like, I could go to the store, could go to UPS, I could go do this BS, or I could delegate all of that like through an app and like go get my nails done or whatever, which I'm still trying to figure out how I can like efficiently get my nails done and like not be glued. Like who can invent something, whether they come to you or like something, or they have daycare in the nail salon, here for that. Cause I could go to the nails all weekend, but I have this baby and I'm like, can he, but then he needs entertainment anyway.
Right. No, I totally get that. I'm like, what am I going to do with you while I get my nails done?
Right.
Because you're not just going to stare at me.
No, it's going to be horrible. And then you're going to end up having to leave.
Everyone's time is ruined.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to know, Alexis, about the business. So you launched this in the pandemic, right?
Yes.
Okay. Walk us through what you were doing prior to this and then what you were doing in the pandemic and then how this became a thing.
So, I honestly, before the pandemic, I was a hospice nurse. So like nursing, that was just my passion. I love older people. That's like my jam. And so love nursing, love helping people. And I never really thought of doing anything else. But then
we might have to unpack that in a second. We might have to come back to that, but we'll continue on.
Yeah. And so after I had my daughter, at the beginning of the pandemic, you're hearing about COVID and people dying, and the last thing you want to do is go back to hospice. So fortunately, it wasn't something I had to run back to, but it allowed me to kind of like sit and enjoy motherhood. And as I was doing that, and online shopping just skyrocketed during the pandemic, and it was like Amazon Prime, and then all the other stores. And so we were constantly getting packages sent to us, but then my return started to like really, really build up. And when you have a kid, it's like 1 minute you buy something and you think it's going to fit them, and then you turn around to go put it on and it's like, oh, what was I thinking? Or you just forgot. And so I was creating a pile, but what really shocked me was my husband purchased these really expensive pair of shoes. They were red bottoms, and I will never forget these shoes. And so we get them delivered and they fit, but he was just like, this is just not my style. And he is like, we got to return it. And I'm like, all right, well, you return it because I'm not doing that. And so they sat there. And then one day when I was like, I'm just going to do it, we missed the return window.
No.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Needless to say, they are his favorite shoes. He wears them at least like once a month because I'm like, no, we are going to wear these shoes.
We're going to wear these shoes.
Yeah,
all the time.
because now we don't get our money back, which was thousands of dollars. So, yeah. So, and they're kind of like sparkly too, so which cracks me up because I'm like,
I love a sparkly shoe. You can never go wrong with a sparkly
Exactly.
shoe.
It was a statement shoe for him. But then I was like, okay, how many times am I doing this? By missing return windows or like making excuses not to return, donating things or giving them to friends. And that kind of like snowballed into, okay, I want someone to remind me of return windows because I don't want to look through my email and find these purchases. But then on a second, like, not only do I want you to remind me, but also can someone come to my house and return it? Like, does TaskRabbit do this, or do I have to? And you can't, like, who wants to hire like an assistant or somebody of that nature for returns or something? You're like, no, I want there to be like an app where I can, make it like a Uber-esque type of thing. And so when I realized that didn't exist, I just like kind of just started creating looking back, an awful business plan, but it was a business plan. And, talking to friends and family and neighbors and asking like, is this a problem for you? Would you utilize something like this? All of those type of things. And yeah, that's kind of like how Noted was born.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. So did you have any experience with like app building, app development, or did you just kind of have to be resourceful?
Yeah. So I still have no experience. Like I'm a non-technical tech founder. So
Yep.
you fall into that realm and you're kind of like learning as you're going. But I had these two business mentors that helped me out. And they helped me like kind of take a crash course in business because the last business course I took was 12th grade accounting. And so I'm like, I have no idea how to work Google Sheets or Excel or anything like that. So that kind of like got me kind of prepared. And then I knew that I needed a team that spoke non-technical language, but then tech language as well. So I needed like a lot of tech. This is like getting a little bit into it, but like my teams that I created are just based in America, but then you have like offshore people. So sometimes you're like Argentina or the Philippines or like outside the US. But I knew I needed to find like someone that could speak my language and then help me like translate it to their language of like coding and my vision and all of those things, which I'm still learning how to do. But now, I've kind of gotten a little bit better at it.
So walk us through what it looks like to like, I want to know from the back end. I'm kind of imagining what would be like on the front end from a customer standpoint, but like, what does your team do when you get an order? Do you call it an order?
Yeah.
Or a return?
Well, yeah. So I think like when you're just talking about like the email reminder, we just created a database where retailers sit and their return policies sit. And when you like sign up, it just matches that return policy with what you order and it just sends you reminders. So that's pretty like hands off, except for we have like interns that are updating it and making sure the return policies and adding retailers. But when we actually get a pickup order, it's a little bit different. Someone goes on, they're looking at their personal dashboard. They're like, I want to return these pair of Steve Madden shoes. And that's reminds me because I have a pair I need to return. And they just start clicking away on the items they want to return. And then and you can donate as well some items too if you miss return windows, things like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we partner up with a lot of local charities here in Nashville. And so we have really great relationships with them and we're able to take some as donations and then our customers receive the tax write-off and we can help small local charities here, which is great. Really cool. Yeah, so we combine that. So returns and donations can be combined into the same order. And basically they schedule a pickup and we receive it on our back end. We just compare it with our notes of, this is a Steve Madden purchase. Is there a Steve Madden store first? Because that's always gets you your money back quicker. And we want to reduce shipping, like cardboard boxes, all that nonsense. Yeah. It's just a hot mess. But, and then we look at, okay, if not, how do we return it? Like via FedEx, UPS, what is the most cost-effective, eco-friendly way to return it? And then we pick it up and we package it up the way it needs to be packaged. And you don't need return labels. You don't need any of that because our technology has already pulled all of that information. So we can create it. We can do brick and mortar returns as well. So we just can take the items and take it back to store and reimburse you. And yeah, it's pretty simple.
It's amazing. And you said your app is launching at the end of this month?
Yes. So the mobile app is launching April 20th. Cross your fingers. When you're dealing with development, you're like, okay. So we haven't really like pushed it, but it's coming out that week. And so what that will do just for like the first version of the app is just the email reminding service. So being able to sync all of your purchases onto your dashboard and receive push notifications for returns. And then hopefully, as we let out other releases, you can schedule your pickups through the app, things like that. But we just want to I was explaining to Ashley, like the shop app that everyone's familiar with. Yeah. Like, okay, you create a purchase and then, it's going to tell me like, it's out for delivery or you should have received it. we're going to kind of do the same thing, but for returns. So that like reverse logistics side.
Wow. So I guess I want to know, like, kind of want to go back to the hospice thing.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that. I don't want to derail this because this is such
totally.
a fascinating innovation. And it's like, you hear these stories. I know, like, right after the pandemic and through the pandemic, it was like the Wall Street Journal and like New York Times, they were all publishing these stories about people like you.
Yeah.
That were, it's so historical.
Yeah,
like
it really is.
So many of these businesses launched in that time where we were all closed inside, you know, trying to figure out, well, I still want to buy things. I mean, you know, the economy, I mean, really, it was a wonky time.
Yeah.
But people bought a lot of stuff.
I mean, I made my biggest purchase in the pandemic. I bought myself a pair of Golden Goose that I'm wearing right now.
Go ahead,
because
girl.
I was still working.
Right.
But I wasn't spending any money because nothing was open.
Open.
So I saved a bunch of money and I said, well, I'm going to buy myself a pair of Golden Goose.
Well, and, you know, we'll be like telling our kids these stories,
Yeah.
you know, in 10, 15 years or whatever. But like, I mean, remember like the tie-dye thing was so big in the pandemic and everyone had to have tie-dye pajamas. Like it was like the thing. It was so, I don't know why.
So many companies like mom and pop type, your best friend had like just automatically start doing that.
And
That's so funny.
I just remember it was like April 2020, and I remember it was like everyone was on TikTok doing dancing videos.
Yes.
They're like their dad,
Yeah.
and then they were in like a tie dye, like cute short set, with like a long sleeve, and I had to have it because it was all over, and everyone was like, you know, we're not leaving the house, we want to look cute and be comfortable,
right?
But anyway, it's just so interesting talking to someone that literally did what these like massive news publications were talking about, like entrepreneurs were doing at that time, just like growing these businesses out of, you know, their garages, out of their basements, out of their rooms, whatever. And then now they're extremely successful because the whole world changed in those few years of the pandemic. The whole, the mindset, the consumer behavior, everybody wanted efficiency. If I don't have to leave my house to get toilet paper, then I don't want to. I mean, Shipt, Instacart, all these companies boomed like crazy because everybody was just craving I just need it to come to me.
Right.
It's safer. It's, you know, it's more efficient. Again, I get my time back. I can not put makeup on. I can be in my pajamas longer. And now we all know pretty much everyone works from home for the most part. I mean,
that's a new
like
cultural
half
thing.
Of America, it seems like. I don't know the statistics, but like that's, you know, it's just so brilliant that you captivated on it then. And then this is something that's not going away because what happened in the pandemic isn't going to change. People are always going to crave that same feeling of like, just come to me.
It's the behavior. Yeah, all of our behaviors have changed. And it's like even shopping behaviors, it's like I rather order 3 or 4 of the same item in different sizes because I'm not going to go try it on. Yeah. And then I'll just return the rest, and hopefully you do. But, you know, that culture of shopping has just changed. Or like Zara didn't allow you to like go in there and try their clothes on for a really long time. So you're like,
still sometimes don't.
Yeah. And so you're just sitting there and you're like, okay, and then I got to come back and the lines are crazy long because like 3 people work. So so you're constantly in that loop. And so you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think one of the positive things about the pandemic, it was such a horrible time, but it really allowed you to kind of like sit still and focus, and you could spend, like, I know I was able to form better, healthier habits because of that, because, you know, you couldn't go to the gym. And I felt like when I did go to the gym, I was like hitting up the smoothie shop or like, you know, kind of like meeting a friend and chit-chatting. And like, I wasn't like dedicated to it. But then, you know, we kind of created our little home gym. Yeah. And now I just created that habit of working out and making that a focus. And so I think there are a lot of positives that have came out of the pandemic, like businesses, like, you know, just being healthier, having to cook. My husband says the pandemic is the best thing that has happened to our cooking, my cooking in the house. Because
kind of same. That's kind of how I learned to cook because we couldn't go to restaurants, and we started doing. Me and my roommate started doing HelloFresh. Which is another, I mean, we couldn't go to the grocery really. And so it delivers it to you. And that kind of taught us how to cook.
It makes it fun too. Is another, brilliant thing that boomed in the pandemic. Yeah, that's so interesting. And just the whole retail industry, again, like we said, completely had to 360. Like probably, I haven't even really thought about that with them, but like they had to pivot. Everyone had to pivot in the pandemic, but that whole industry, like literally like
online shopping and just
get your websites and
make it easy, update your return policies. Cause now people are like, they would give you like 90 days, like 180 days to return. And now companies are like, let's scale back, like these returns are getting us. But like customer service, like we're demanding it. It's now it's a whole thing where it's like, you have only 30 days. Like, what? That's ridiculous. I can't turn around anything in 30 days. Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that because of the cultural changes that the pandemic has just like infused into all of us and that convenience lifestyle. And I'm not going to do these type of things anymore. I'm going to like delegate those tasks is just huge.
So with all the retailers that you have loaded on there that you said you kind of have like interns that kind of help you with that, like is that list, what does that list look like? Is it massive? Does it grow every day?
Yeah, so it grows like a lot. So what we've created when we first launched, it's really cool what technology is able to do. But when we first launched, it was manually, like it was very manual with how we scanned for these online purchases and how we taught the software to like keep an eye out for like what this receipt and retailer looked like and which this one. And then as I was like thinking and remind you, like no technical background, I was like, AI, I don't even know what it really fully stands for, something. Like it's automatic somehow. Yeah. But I was like, what if we use that to scan for every retailer, like worldwide? And we're teaching this computer to look up things instead of like trying to remember images, but remembering keywords that all retailers are using as they send receipts. And I pushed and pushed and pushed. I'm like, there's got to be a way. And so with our mobile app launch, it actually has AI technology. So we're able to do, I think there's 2.3, probably more, the last time I looked, billion e-commerce stores.
Insane.
So that's a potential for 2.3 billion different receipts and where we could all be shopping from. And so I encourage them to do that. And so now when we find like, I don't know, like this small shop in the middle of Missouri that I may not have the return policy for, but someone stumbled upon it and now they shop there. How do I do that? Well, it scans for it. And then the interns just put in look it up and say, okay, and then it just adds it to the database for future. So basically we're learning from our audience and we're constantly updating and perfecting it from our audience.
Amazing.
That is so mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Really cool. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just the coolest thing ever. It's like, I love hearing you say, look, I was not a tech girl, created this tech thing, didn't even know what AI was. Like I think that's so refreshing to hear, and anyone that's listening needs to take that and really just go, truly, if there is a will, there is a way. And that is so you to a T.
Yeah.
I appreciate hearing that because I feel like so many people just count themselves out because you're like, I don't have that experience or I don't know anyone that can like lead me to this level or I'm just going to wait for someone else to figure it out because it's too like daunting or it's just, we deal with that so much.
Yeah.
And so I really just like want that messaging to come across that like, it always has to go back to like, why not you? And you can do it. You just have to be like scrappy enough to figure it out and like pull together and, push and push and push because I mean, initially my team thought like, you're crazy. Like, you want me to find an AI? And I was like, yeah, that's what I want you to do.
Correct.
Yeah. And we're going to figure this out. And, it's been the most incredible experience. And the funny thing is this AI specialist on my team, he's 16. Like this guy is like insane. A little baby genius doing this. I mean, he's in another country, but he's incredible.
Works his ass off too.
Yeah. Like,
driven.
Exactly. And it's like, you found this guy who is we would all be like, you're getting stuff done from a 16-year-old. And you're like, what he's been able to produce, it's like, you can't count anyone out, you know? And it's just like a trying to like drive home that message to my team and people when they ask about Noted. It's like, you know, we really just all came together with like a common goal and really push one another, and we're able to get there.
That's so cool. And I feel like you found such a need in the industry. Like
Yeah.
there was a need for it. And so you were like, let's create it.
Right.
And that's so badass.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, this doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And having all return policies in one location and learning from like our customers where you shop and what you want to know about these retailers it doesn't exist. So we're trying to revolutionize that so that shopping and that retail experience is just great for all consumers.
Have you bootstrapped this?
Yes.
I kind of had that feeling.
Yes.
I got that from you.
Oh, thanks.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's fun because then when you walk into a room, they're like, oh, how much money did you raise?
Right.
Or like, you know, and then you're like, no, I have, 100% of a company and, somebody's going to want us one day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just the billion number of potential stores behind this too. That's some cash money right there.
I know.
How many do you have? Is it that many like retailers?
So the capability is that much. I think right now where with our current customer base, we've done like over 12,000 retailers. It's like once you get certain customers, especially in the Nashville market, there's a lot of similar shopping habits.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Where do we shop?
Yeah. So like Nordstrom's really like the Gulch area, the 12 South, like all of those like Southern.
Draper James and
they all pop up. So like it was and the malls, like here in the mall stores are really popular. And those are kind of interesting things that like once the app is out, we're going to be able to actually see, like take it to other cities and be like, and put the focus for everyone to use and then be like, okay, what is the pattern here in Nashville versus like Atlanta, even though we're like super close, or Charlotte or, LA? What are they shopping at? What are they looking at? And just, I think it could, really turn into some cool like media nuggets of like, what can we say about like these areas and what they're shopping, and maybe like, I don't know, kind of elevate my own lifestyle and like, oh, where are you shopping over here? You got some good style, and learn about some other small boutiques.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So right now, just being Nashville focused.
But it's like a good market to be focused on because it's like we hit a lot of pockets. Like we're affluent, like we have that. We have like it's high end. It's, there's obviously a lot of money here.
Yes.
And people, and it's fashion. There's a huge fashion, area thing here, and people care about presentation and look. And it's a lot of that. I feel like since the pandemic has sort of fizzled a little bit and people are going out now and like really caring about what they look like too. Right. And what, it's like, it might be sweats, but it's like an elevated sweat.
Oh yeah.
You know
the
what
elevated
I mean?
sweat.
We love an elevated after leisure moment.
Leisure. We do that here a lot. Yeah. So like I was saying, I did want to kind of go back because I had no idea that you started in hospice. And that is something that is so interesting because I've always had one hospice experience in my life. And I just remember being there with my grandfather and being like, these people are actual angels on this planet.
Yeah, they're
and
pretty great.
It takes the most special person in the world, I feel like, to work in that role. I mean, I think that about nurses. I think that about doctors, like 100%. But then it's a whole other level to be in hospice. And like, just what was that experience like for you, like pre-pandemic?
It wasn't like, oh, I couldn't get a job anywhere and I fell into hospice because like nobody wants to do it. It was definitely a role that I sought out because I just knew I couldn't work with kids. It's just not in me to do sick kids. And my parents' age sucks. Like that group of people are just horrible to work with. I'm not even like when I was doing like med surge and all of that, I'm like, I go home and I'm like, Mom, your population is just rough. I can't do it. But I always, no matter if an older person just had a horrible day or they were mean or they were nasty, like you lived like 80, 90 odd years. And, the least, like, I can't take it personal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just so happy. And they just could never kill my vibe. So I was like, this may be like where I just have a soft spot. And so working with that group, I think it just made every moment and connection, like, I learned a lot. And I felt like, I even had patients with dementia and Alzheimer's and, living in their world and just making it a little bit more peaceful always just built me up. And even probably they didn't even realize it, but it was just like, I would walk into a room and they would be telling me the most crazy story and it's probably not true, but I went along with it. And you never know what you're going to get moment to moment. And I just really became alive, like doing that type of stuff. And then being there towards the end of life, you just have so much compassion and like being there for families because you're not just there for the patient, but it's like all family thing. And you obviously want to go above and beyond for them because like, that's their parent or grandparent there. And it just bringing whatever type of peace I could to that area just meant a lot to me. And it was, I think it was just like a very emotional but fulfilling time being a hospice nurse. And I just feel like it was a great environment to work in. And I think that people like overlook that population a lot, but you can learn a lot from those people and just a lot about yourself. And I don't know, it was a hard thing to walk away from. And I still have like an active nursing license because I'm just like, I don't know, I work so hard for this. But I just always remember that, that eventually that could be me in that situation. And how would I want, my nurses or doctors to respond to me? And so, I love it.
Wow. Now that you've been bitten by the entrepreneurship bug, though, would you ever do anything different?
What's really funny? Where like you guys are a marketing group, and I hate marketing. I think it's the hardest thing. There's some marketing things I would redo, like just like bringing, like toning it down and putting so much faith into like ads and thinking like without creating like a brand awareness around it and the educational piece. I learned that a lot and I wish it didn't take us so long to learn, but I think it gave me the knowledge now to, better handle that aspect. But other than that, I wouldn't change a thing. It's just marketing really gets me. And so I really wish I didn't have to learn the hard way.
It's a love-hate.
Yeah.
And it's a
very, like,
I'm being honest,
underappreciated, especially, like, I don't know, I just feel like people are like, oh, you're in marketing. And, like,
it's glamorous.
They think it's so glamorous and they think it's not hard. Like, they think it's not like, they're like, oh, you post pictures on social media. I'm like, no, there's a lot of thought that goes into
that picture,
that copy,
that moment,
that hashtag. Like, there's so much.
It goes through so many, then when you do it, then it goes to other people and then we're signing off on it. There's a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't understand that. And like, until you're in it, and especially with you where you wear a lot of different hats.
Yes.
And you have to know what's going on with the marketing. That is like part of your bottom line, right? Like that, it's the most crucial piece to business.
Listen. I appreciate
so refreshing.
the marketing side of like the company, because I'm like, I do not know how you do it, because my co-founder, she loves the marketing side. She's super creative, but she'll be like showing me like shades of purple. And I'm like, girl, I do not care if you do not get this out of my face. We're like rebranding our whole website. And she's like, what do you think about this placement? This, and I'm like, if you don't just pick a statement, I do not. But it's so much more. But it's the little things that are often overlooked. But then people are like, that's so important. Like movement on a landing page. And you're just like, that's how, even having an arrow. And I'm like, that's something that like it
could affect you.
Yeah.
Could
like
affect its sale.
Yeah.
Right.
The
And-
psychology behind marketing is fascinating. And
That's
that's
what it
what's
is.
really hard. And that's what people don't realize is so hard. There's so much psychology behind what we do. And it's like really understanding that consumer and even your business, like really understanding how the consumer shops. Like,
right.
you know, what's going to draw them into your website to be like, okay, I'm going to use them because they seem legitimate and they seem like a big deal and like a reputable company. You know, there's so much psychology behind it, which I kind of love. To me, it's fascinating.
Well, and that's why you're a good marketer. But like, it's the business of people. And I don't mean it's like you have to be a social butterfly. I mean, you have to be fascinated by how people behave and what they do. And you kind of, I think a lot of it is you just kind of got to know it or you don't know it.
Right.
That's a lot of it. Obviously, it is a muscle that can be worked and there's, you know, you can learn things and whatever. But I think if the best ones, I think it comes really naturally to people and then the muscle just gets worked and then they become amazing. But it's refreshing to hear you say that because we do, I'm sure some of the conversation we have in this office, like if there could be a fly on the wall where we're like us and Leanne going back and forth on like she and I are like doing a logo design, like the bottom of a P, like the letter P. And it's like, well, let's just like just make it a little to the left. Like it's so granular and it's so like from a big picture standpoint, the client's never gonna freaking know that that went into it. But it's those little details like going the color lavender. Well, there's a lot of variations of lavender.
Yep. And fonts and yes. And I'm always over it. I'm like, I don't even attend our marketing meetings. They do it weekly. And I say, catch me up. Just give me the high level.
Notes.
Yeah, like I do not. And then we do like bi-weekly meetings, which like we talk about the other stuff. And I say like the fun stuff, which is like tech, because I'll like nerd out. Yeah, like, and I'm just all about it. But my co-founder's like, so what does this mean? And I'm like, I'm learning. But I avoid it at all costs. And I just say, let me know if it affects like the money and like the bigger things. And of course it does because marketing's expensive too.
It is.
And it's not like, I mean, tech and marketing, it's like the top two. And I got both. So I just really commend you guys for doing marketing because I literally say this every single time. I'm like, don't bring it to my attention. I don't care.
I love this conversation. What is the relationship like between you and your co-founder? Like, how do you guys decide who does what and like that you kind of stay in each other's lanes and don't kind of do the overlap thing?
Yeah. So when I founded the company, I was doing all aspects and she was a good friend of mine. And she really noted and really loved what I was doing. And she really resonated with the charitable aspect of the company and like the creative side. I loved it. I created it, but it wasn't something I was able to really put a lot of time behind. And so when I was building my team, she's like, what are you looking for? And I was like, somebody to be in the trenches with me and somebody that can take over this other side of the company, like creatives that I'm just not good at. And I know that I'm not good at it. And so I brought her on as a co-founder and then we really just separated it right down the middle. Like she's partnerships, she's marketing, she's charitable side, I'm tech, I'm finance, I'm like probably the boring side that most people probably think, and like maybe more of like the visionary and, you know, goal setting and all of that type of thing. And so what we do is even though we're on completely different sides, like she has a team that answers to her and I have a team that answers to me. And then we come together and just high level catch you up with it. And we kind of just trust that as long as our vision aligns and as long as we're working towards the same goals, then we can't be doing anything wrong on either side. And so, yeah, that's kind of how our everything works. And then, but of course, like, we have conversations where we're like, what do you think about this? Like, we're talking about the pitch deck for investor purposes. And she's like, I took out the images and I centered the and I'm like, all right, cool. Thanks.
No,
Next.
high level, girl. Like, I don't need to know.
She's
about
like, I have a few questions. I'm like, don't ask me about centering the first
funny.
page. But then we get into like the roadmap and like the product. And then I'm like, okay, you got to do this. You got to do this. So we definitely have our areas. And I think that that's really important, is that we're both not micromanaging each other and we both trust each other to do what say we're going to do.
That trust piece is the biggest thing, I feel like, in any like business partnership, business relationship. Like you just have to, and then that end goal, right? Like when you're looking at that person, as long as we're all on the same page of like, this is what the destination, this is what like the end, our pot of gold looks like for all of us. Like as long as we all know that and that's like understood, I think it's can be such a beautiful thing.
I agree. I think we just did a little workshop where we thought about our vision and what is important. Like what are some core values of myself and her, and then how do we like make them align? And mine was trust and diversity, and more so diversity of thought. Like I don't want a table of like everybody that thinks like me, because then we're not going to get anywhere and you're going to just think everything I say is amazing and it's not. Yeah. And so those are really important. But hers was like really centered around making a difference. And so I just felt like that really went back to where she's at in the company and like where she's the leader of. And it's like that aspect of like partnerships and charities and doing the community angle is so huge, and that's her core value, so you can't go wrong. And then mine is still centered around, trusting these relationships and diversity and, bringing together all these different types of people, because our team is super diverse, like all over the place. And so I think that when we do those exercises, we're kind of still staying very aligned.
And also that I feel like successful businesses too, it's not so money driven. It's just like purpose, impact, and then just like togetherness, community,
right?
And then diversity and just growing something from nothing. And I just think that that's how successful businesses should be operated and run, is like when you're onto something, when it's not like, I just want to make $1 million a year.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, obviously we need money. We want that because then we're able to give back to our teams and give back to our people and give back to our communities. But if that's like your main driver, it's often never going to get where you want it to, because you have to have more. You have to all be holding on to something greater than that in order for it to really progress.
Absolutely.
It's really beautiful. It sounds like you guys have a really beautiful partnership, and I just respect it so much, because it's hard. It's hard to have a partner.
It is, but we've had like really like those hard talks where you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down and we're going to take our friendship aside, and we're going to talk about business right now, and then don't get in your feels when we're talking about this, because it's not about.
It's just business.
Yeah, it's just business, and I think like we have to remind each other of that. Like when we're having those tough talks, it's like, all right, we're going to take our friendship out and like, let's talk about this. And I think that really helps us, never to be at odds. And I'm like, as long as we're aligned, like this will work.
Wow. Well, I kind of want to wrap with a couple of questions. Yeah. We always end with the same question, which I'll let Ashley ask. Fun. But before we go to the final, what are you hoping for this year? I know we've got app launching, hopefully the end of this month. We're really going to say prayers. Mm-hmm. What other some other goals that you have for this year?
So a lot of our goals pretty much align with getting people onto the platform and utilizing it. We have a lot of cool marketing strategies coming up and milestones that we want to hit with just like customer acquisition. And then we have really cool partnerships that will able to kind of allow other companies that are in this returns last mile of the shopping process to utilize the AI technology as well to accelerate what they're doing in their field. So I think that our main objective is to get this technology out there to so many more people and to help just the returns industry as a whole by the end of this year. And so I think that's kind of like where our planning is all around.
Okay. Well, that's really exciting.
Yes.
I'm excited. I have like things I want to talk to you about off air,
Yeah.
just like things and ways that we can all collaborate together. What do you want to ask her?
So we love to end every show with asking all of our guests their definition of a Renaissance woman.
So I would say that my definition would be someone who is a woman that is just like a jack of all trades, kind of. So someone who is not afraid to take chances, putting themselves in uncomfortable positions to better position themselves or others in the future. And I think just like strong, badass women. I kind of like really go back to just being really resilient.
Love that.
Yeah, the resilience piece.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Yeah.
Just bounce back, girl. Like
I know.
we all have hard times. We all have bad days, but just like you got this. And the most successful people are the ones that have so many failures.
Yes.
Like literally like books of failures.
Oh, yeah.
And just like mistakes.
Right.
Right?
Yep. They like keep going. Like, why not you? Like,
Yeah.
why not you? Like, just when those things happen, like, just go back to that. And I think that can just, take you so much further instead of, being in that moment of, oh
Yeah.
man, this sucks.
Yeah. It's just a moment.
Yeah. It's just a moment.
Well, where can everyone find you on Instagram, website,
Yes.
everything?
So our website's notedreturns.com. And then our Instagram is noted_returns. And hopefully April 20th, our app launch, you'll be able to get it on the Apple Store, Google Store, and that will just be under Noted Returns as well. So yeah, everyone's gonna have to check us out.
Everyone check out Noted Returns. We are so excited to know of you, Alexis, and just to have you in our Renaissance
Yes.
ether. And
How cute is this? I love it.
We're very pink. Ashley
Yes,
and I
we're
didn't even
very
do this
pink.
on purpose.
Yeah, I was like, did I not get the memo?
Well, it kind of works. It
Yeah,
kind of like you're the star and we're just your little pink,
Yes,
pink
and
ladies.
I feel like we're still in the same like
Yes.
good colors.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we're in the different textures, which I
Yeah.
love.
Oh,
I love
yes.
your whole fit.
Yeah.
So
Thank
cute.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. Well, me.